The last graphing example is what happens when I give you different pieces of information. Can you tell me what the standard form is going to be? So we're going to be centered at the origin. So I know my center is going to be right there. I've got a major axis length of 10 and foci at negative 3, 0 and 3, 0. So let's start by identifying my foci right there and right there. And I know my foci are inside the ellipse. So my ellipse is going to be a little bit larger than that. We also know the foci are on the major axis, so this is going to be a horizontal ellipse. We're also given here that the major axis has a length of 10. And from our definition of major axis, we know 2a is equal to the major axis, which in this case is 10. So that means a is going to equal 5. So if I were trying to find the vertices, my a value is 5, which tells me the distance the vertices are from the center. So my vertices would be at 5, 0 and negative 5, 0. So there's vertice and there's a vertice. The next piece I need to know is how high up is this ellipse going to be? And the relationship I have is that I've got my foci and my b value. So the foci, or the c value for the foci, is the distance from the center to the foci, which is going to be 3. My a value is 5. And some of you might say, well, isn't the c plus or minus? Well, it is, but since I'm squaring it, that minus goes away, so the end result's always going to be positive. So 9 equals 25 minus b squared. We'll start solving for b, which is going to give me 4. And it is technically plus or minus 4. We'll go 4 units up, and 1, 2, 3, 4 units down. And so my ellipse is going to look something like that. Now, what is that in standard form? Oh, we know this one is going to have the larger number underneath the x fraction because the major axis is along the x-axis and the longer direction is in the x direction. We've got no shift. So it's just x squared and y squared in the numerator. A squared is going to be underneath the x piece since again it's in the x direction where the major axis is. So 5 squared is 25. There's my a value. I'll square that. This then is my b squared value. I've got b squared as being 16 right there. So x squared over 25 plus y squared over 16 is equal to 1. The final piece is then writing an ellipse in standard form that is not in standard form. And for this, we need to complete the square. So when we've got x's and y's and we complete the square, there's one more step we've got to do. We group our x's together, we group our y's together, and then we have to factor. So first of all, let's group our x's and y's. So 25x squared minus 200x plus 9y squared plus 36y is equal to negative 211. The next thing that we've got to do is we're going to sort of do this factoring by grouping. And we're going to pull a constant out before we complete the square. So here my constant I'm going to pull out is 25. And then I'm left with x squared minus 8x. And there's going to be some number when I complete the square. In my second piece right here, I'm factoring out a 9. So y squared plus 4y plus some number is equal to negative 211. And now here's the big piece I see a lot of students make mistakes on. We've got our two blanks on the other side, but since I factored out the 25 and the 9 right here, I have to multiply these blanks by 25 and 9 as my final answer once I complete the square. So over here, if I complete the square, half of negative 8 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. So if I put a 16 there, I've got to put a 16 right there. Here, half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So put a 4 there. I'll put a 4 right there. So this, when I factor it down, is x minus 4 quantity squared. There, it is y plus 2 quantity squared. And then on the right-hand side, I've got negative 211. 25 times 16 is 400, and 9 times 4 is 36. So 25 x minus 4 quantity squared plus 9, y plus 2 quantity squared. Simplifying this, we get 225. And then, since I'm asking for standard form, I'm going to divide everything by 225, so my answer is equal to 1. So x minus 4 quantity squared over 9 plus y plus 2 quantity squared over 25 is equal to 1. Finally, if I were to enter this into my graphing calculator, what I would do is sort of the same thing we did before, where we would solve for y. In this case, I would move my x quantity over. So for the calculator, we would have 1 minus x minus 4 quantity squared over 9. Subtract that piece over. Then what I do is I'd multiply both sides by 25 to get rid of the 25 in the denominator, since this is really equal to y plus 2 quantity squared over 25. Multiply both sides by 25, so 25 minus 25 x minus 4 quantity squared over 9 is equal to y plus 2 quantity squared. Take the square root to both sides. 25 minus 25 x minus 4 quantity squared over 9 is equal to y plus 2. And that's actually plus or minus. And then the final thing to get equal to y is we'll then subtract the 2. So negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 25, x minus 4 quantity squared over 9. Very ugly answer to plug into your calculator.